Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode number 390. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
And sir, what is up?
Not much. It's a little bit weird. I am here 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's something we
while.
got to get used to. Something I got to get used to.
Yeah, I know. That alternating thing was working really well. I should have just kept that up.
For you, yes. For me, trying to find other people and dealing with them, not so much.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, why? Did you have some divas you had to deal with or something?
I might have had one who used to have his own podcast.
One of
No,
those.
actually,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all. So,
But yeah, no, everything's good. Another week has gone by.
that it has. And boy, has it been a hell of a week personally. But that's for another time.
All right. Well, see, I'm getting happy because now we're creeping into fall.
We are. Actually, fall starts what, next week?
Yeah, fall starts actually the week where this podcast drops. It is officially fall. So, and then on top of that, it's my favorite time of year. We're getting into Halloween season. We're gonna start talking the spooky stuff. Always love that.
Scary skeletons.
All that stuff. I love
Maybe
that.
also because it's your birthday month.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, that just makes sense. What could be more spooky than me getting older?
This is accurate. Facts, folks. Spitting facts.
Very accurate.
Actually, can't wait.
So
it's going to be fun. And I kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. This is the first episode now. I'm recording with my brand new iPhone. So I think hopefully it's going to come out looking really crisp, better for the amount of money that I might.
And in all honesty, you look the same as you did last week. So
I don't know if that's good enough. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Do not upgrade. Do not update anything. Hang tight.
Why? What happened?
I might have hit a button. I might have hit a button and my computer might be updating. Nope. We will do that later.
Yeah, hold off on those updates.
It's that time of year. Everything's coming out. iOS 18, watch OS, whatever. I think 11, I think.
Oh, it's that magical time of year where Apple forces you to do all of these upgrades.
It's not a force. Trust me. I'm in upgrade mode right now. You have no idea. Well, you do a little bit because I told you earlier.
Yes.
I got my iPhone upgraded, my watch upgraded. I've been updating and upgrading actually to 4K my digital collection, which is going to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Your credit card limit upgraded.
A little. No, that's the only thing that's not moving, unfortunately. And like the last 2 weeks, I've been updating or upgrading, I should say. It's really just an upgrade. Some movies to 4K because that sometimes they're on sale for like $5. I'll pull the trigger on that. That's cool. So I bought a bunch of movies, upgraded them to 4K, whatever. I had like SD or HD versions. And then out of nowhere, I got an email today because I do it through Vudu. They just make it easy to do. Fandango at home. And I get an email from Fandango and they're like, hey, congratulations. We've just upgraded 20 of your movies that you own to 4K. I was like, what? I'm like, is this because of all the money I've already dropped, or you guys are being kind?
I think it's a thank you. It's like, thank you, sucker. I mean, Larry, for spending all this extra money to upgrade movies you already have.
No, but I would have done it anyway because they were on a list. Some of them were on the list and I was ready to upgrade. But
well, I just find it funny that as you're upgrading your movies, I'm downgrading my movies because I went out and bought a bunch of VHS tapes.
We are really going and you know what?
We're going in opposite directions. I prefer enjoying like when they upgrade television shows because I see this happen. I see this all the time. Because like you get those message boards from like shows you watch all the time, even though I'm not part of the message boards. So like people who are watching Friends, like the new updated widescreen version.
Oh, don't get me started on those.
No, that and people are like all complaining. They're like, oh my God. They go, there's like a camera in the shot and there's a person in the shot. I don't remember that person being there. They're not supposed to be there. And I'm like, no, I go, because these shows were not recorded to be widescreen. I go, when they release the widescreen version, I go, now all of a sudden you're getting like some of the production in the shot.
Or like Seinfeld did this. Seinfeld's now all in 16:9.
16:9.
It was shot in 4:3. But what they do is they zoom in a little bit. So you lose a little bit of the top and bottom.
I hate that.
It drives me nuts. And the best example of this, and then we can move on, was when The Simpsons, Disney Plus hit, right? And they had The Simpsons, and the entire series of The Simpsons. but they converted it to 16:9, and
Oh,
people pitched a
you
fit
can't convert that to 16:9.
to the point where, and I'll give this to Disney. I am not a Disney fan, but I will give this their credit. They actually, I think in your like settings, you can actually select to watch the old,
Four
because new
three.
episodes are already designed, but you
Yeah,
can watch the old episodes in 4:3. So
yeah.
you were able to do that. And I don't know who decided to turn a lot of these into widescreen.
No, it was definitely not the right decision to make.
It's
So
like playing video games. Like, what was I doing? I found what game I was playing. It was one of the games of the week. Remember when we did that? And
yeah. Well,
I
we're
think
picking that
yeah,
up again, by the
yeah,
way.
we are. I think it might have been Spy Hunter on the PS2.
Okay.
And I always get, whenever I boot up my PS2, I always get confused with it because you can put it in 16:9, but it's not like a true 16:9. It's weird because not all the games were made to be in 16:9.
Hmm.
Then I'm just sitting there going, is this stretched? What is going on here? Like I can't tell if it's proper looking or not.
Yeah.
And then it ends up annoying me and I don't know what to do. Or the worst part, you go the other way and it's egged.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
and that
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's even worse.
I don't understand how anyone plays. That's another cool thing about with the Atari 2600 Plus,
Hmm.
their games, the ones that have like the multi-cart, like
Yeah.
10 games in one, you can set it for 16:9 or 4:3 and it will play properly
Oh,
in
that's
each
cool.
one. But why they even gave an option again for an Atari, who knows?
No
So
idea.
be that as it may, but whatever.
Okay.
Well, thank God we're moving forward into 4K, and then I get to, as soon as I buy my last 4K movie and 4K game,
8K.
8K, exactly.
Yep. 8K. Well, that's all right. I'm gonna stick with my 1080p.
Ah, it makes me itch. All right, so
Does it look? Ooh, I'm very.
no, not you. I just meant watching stuff in 1080p now. I can
Uh,
see it. I can
I
see it.
I have no problem with it because anything you stream is never 4K. Usually it's like 720.
It's 4K. Unfortunately, you got to pay for it, and
Well, that's
that's
what I mean.
yeah.
Like, but otherwise, like it's pretty much like 720p. Like
It
that
is
when you're
yeah,
streaming stuff a lot.
yeah,
Mhm.
and they consider that HD. I'm like, if it's not
Yep.
1080, don't call
Nope.
it HD. I don't hear it.
It's not
So.
HD.
But with that being said, but we're going to talk about some old games that are still in and should be played in 480 or 420, whatever it was, 480.
480
Yeah,
once upon a
480,
time.
720.
Well, let's go. Yes, we're going to go back to retro. But before we get to our topic for
Yes.
today, I would like to pay dividends to something I mentioned last week when I was recapping my ridiculous vacation where I bought video games all over Europe. There was one stop that I purposely skipped over because
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I didn't buy video games there. But I did find some. I literally accidentally stumbled upon this, and it made me very, very happy. So
Okay.
while I was in Malaga, Spain,
Malaga.
Malaga, I came across because every stop I was making on my cruise,
Mhm.
the first thing I would do before I got off the ship was I would do a Google search for video game stores.
Okay.
And I would pick one out and I'd be like, okay, that's the one I'm going to because I knew I was going to be in that area.
Mhm.
So when I got to Malaga, I was looking, I did that. I did my Google search for video game stores and I found a few there. But then I was like, this is more interesting than a video game store. I'm going to do this. I found, and again, it was there,
Mhm.
obviously, but I found the OXO Video Game Museum in Malaga, Spain. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, wow. I go, they have a video game museum. Naturally, of course, I had to go there. So I'm going to share some pictures. I'm going to share some images that I took while I was there.
Okay.
So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see this?
Not yet. There we go.
All right, you can see this. So
Yep.
this is the outside. And by the way, this was about a block away from this really, really gorgeous cathedral.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, so I went on an excursion from the
Yeah.
cruise, and we did a walk around of the area. We went to like the area, like the house where Pablo Picasso was born,
Oh,
and then
okay.
we went to this really awesome cathedral that was right nearby, and then about a block down was this video game museum.
Hmm.
So and I knew about it when I saw this, the name of it kind of rung a bell, and I'm like, I know this from somewhere.
What,
And
OXO?
Yeah, OXO, like
Okay.
OXO. I knew it from somewhere and I couldn't remember what it was, but then when I went inside, it dawned on me why I've heard of this museum before. So I'm only showing some of the images because there is just too much to show here.
You used up the entire memory of your phone.
I basically did. I really did. So like first off, they have a
Oh
giant
wow.
Sonic. They have a giant Sonic right outside of the entrance,
Oh,
which
that's
was really
awesome.
cool. Yeah, he was really cool just chilling there. And then this is right by the register where you get your ticket.
Oh my gosh.
So they have all these monitor displays. They have, with some with games on them and everything. It's just really, really cool.
John and Jack would be in
I was
heaven.
going to say John and Jack, I'm sure can name every single one of these monitors or game, systems.
Holy cow.
But this was just before I bought the ticket to go in.
Okay.
This was next. So you're going to see a couple of pictures of me. But yes, they had the Super Mario pipe there. I thought it was cool to just grab a quick picture.
You better have a picture or a video of you coming up out of it with your.
I don't. I didn't
Oh,
do it.
okay, fair enough.
I didn't do it. But
Oh,
then
sweet.
they had this statue right there of
Mm-hmm.
Lee Sin, which was really cool.
Okay.
And then now, then after the before this image, right? But you go into this other room and there is a 5-minute immersive video
Okay.
that's video that basically talks about like the history of video games, but it basically encompasses a whole room. They do like projection mapping, so it's all the walls around you
Oh,
and the
okay.
floor. So you're like just completely immersed in this thing. Now, I took video of it and I'm gonna post that on
Okay.
our YouTube page separately
Mm-hmm.
so that everybody can check that out because it's an entire 5 minutes and I don't want to just run it through our episode. So we'll definitely put that on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool. And then after you go through that immersive intro, they send you upstairs. And then this is the first floor of the museum. And they talk about 70 years of video game history.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have not stanchions, but sections.
Oh,
They
look at
have
this.
sections of all of the
Mm-hmm.
different video game systems that have come out. So like I'm only going to show you some of them. I took pictures of like everything. But here's the Odyssey. And by the way, everything here playable.
Really?
You can walk right up and play everything. Everything
Wow.
like you can see the controllers are sitting out so you can play these
This
things.
stuff would be behind glass out here in New York.
Exactly. So and then on the wall, they put up stuff like Simon, like memory games and stuff like
Like an
that.
arc reactor there on top.
Yeah, I know, right? um,
Were you? Oh my
and then here's a
God.
whole section dedicated just to Pong, and then to the right where that person is standing were Atari games.
Holy
Um,
cow.
and
I
you can
see.
see the playable Pong right in the middle.
Yeah, no, I have that Pong.
You
I
have that
have that
version of
Pong.
Pong? You
Hey,
might.
hold on. Hang
Uh-oh.
tight.
Larry might have this version of Pong that we're looking at because there were so many
Oh,
versions of
maybe
Pong.
not. Oh my God, there was so many versions. It's not
There were.
workable, but
Oh
I'll
wait, here,
show.
let me stop. I'll stop sharing. That is a version. That's not that version, but you do
Okay,
have a version of Pong. Yeah.
look at that.
So that's really
Very
cool.
cool. That's cool though. That thing.
But yeah, so now imagine like they had walls set up for basically every console and company that developed video games.
I see little squares with headphones. Like, is that thing? Like when you go like to the museums out here in New York, like you can
Yes.
play. Like, okay, okay,
Yes. So yeah, so there was an app you could download. And
gotcha.
then when you walked up to these, it would
Mhm.
activate.
Okay,
Yeah. And then you can actually hear the history of video
yeah,
games.
okay.
I took a picture of
Oh
that really quickly. There was a whole Vectrex section.
my
I know.
God.
And the two Vectrex games up here were playable, the two consoles
The
up top.
hum coming from that room must have been
Yeah, it
exhilarating.
was they had a handheld, they had a whole giant glass handheld section. And there's Popeye.
Oh,
I
I
took that.
missed that thing.
I know I took that picture for you.
Oh, thank you.
Naturally, you got to do a Pac-Man section.
Absolutely.
You need Pac-Man, so little Pac-Man
Super
section.
Pac-Man. That's interesting.
So now this is the one. This is why I knew this museum because I heard about the largest playable Game Boy, and this is where it lives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
this
playable right there.
you can actually play it. I took a video. I didn't take a video of it, but I actually played it for like a few seconds,
Did
which
you
was really cool.
really?
I did. I
Was the
did for fun.
screen big enough for you? to play on a Game Boy?
It actually, that is the only Game Boy I can play. That's the only Game Boy I can play. Moving on to Nintendo and the Famicom, sitting right there. They had Super Mario 3 and Battletoads where you can play it.
Wow.
That's
oh, look at that.
About giant playable PlayStation.
So, it looks like it's been played a little too much. Look at those buttons.
Yeah, those buttons are definitely like the X is all wonky.
Yeah, they're looking a little.
I know it's a cross, but it's all wonky. But I thought that was
that's awesome.
really cool.
I
forgot the game that was on the screen.
Was that playable like that?
Yeah, this was playable.
Holy Lord.
Yeah, this was playable. Now, remember not too long ago when they did a poll. They did a poll like globally to find out which video game mascot was the most well known in the
I think
world.
so, yeah.
And do you remember Lara Croft came out number one, like above Sonic and Mario?
Yeah, it was weird.
And we all thought it was weird. I was like, you know what? I'm like, well, here's Doom.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was the next
That's
picture.
very cool.
But Tomb Raider, I don't think is a joke when it comes to like the rest of the world. Because here's an entire wall just segmented for Tomb Raider. Yeah. So yeah, Lara Croft, I think is yeah.
Look at all the games they got underneath the TV. The history of all of them.
They have basically every single Tomb Raider game, box cover art underneath. Obviously, they have the original one that you can play there on the
Saturn,
on the Sega Saturn, which is the copy that I wound up buying.
Yes, you did.
In Barcelona.
Wow,
which is cool. And if you look around on the sides, you'll see other stuff. Like I said, I took pictures of all of this, but like they had arcades all over the place, like Tetris and all. There was the Castlevania versus Super Mario versus. They had Donkey Kong was in there.
For those listening, they even have some of the newer stuff. There's that Blasphemous 2 that just came out a few months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So like they really covered everything. Here I am with the big Game Boy.
Size comparison.
So, yeah, exactly. Just to show you just how big the thing is. It's huge.
Oh my God. And,
Nintendo 64 all set up.
Did you not try and take that sword home with you?
I really wanted it.
Holy cow.
I should have gone down and asked them how much. And I believe, I don't remember, is that the Pokemon?
Yes. Yep.
That's the blue and yellow. That's the Pokemon Nintendo 64.
That's pricey too.
Yes, it is. And it's just sitting out to play.
One of them's out of order.
Yes, the purple one.
Fuera de Servicio.
Yes.
Out of order.
I think, and it had a Zelda game in it too. So that was really cool. Here's a whole Metal Gear Solid section with a statue of
Solid Snake, yeah.
Solid Snake, which was really cool. And then all the games were in the case here. Yep. Moving on to the VR section where the ridiculous Virtual Boy was sitting with Mario Tennis.
Can we just a moment to bask in the glory of this wonderful, wonderful exhibit here?
Well, when you actually read the description on the side here, it basically tells you how it was the most colossal failure of video game consoles.
Well, I see a Virtual Boy sitting on top and not a PSVR sitting on top.
No, that was later though. Actually, I didn't read this, so I didn't want to waste my time.
Dare you?
And then, so there was other stuff, but then you went upstairs. There was another floor loaded with games that you can play.
Wow.
Including this gigantic Tetris. You can look in the very far back. There was a Guitar Hero that you can play.
I do see that. Yeah.
And then moving on, there was this giant Pac-Man globe.
What is it? Was that playable?
I could not find a controller, so I don't think so, but I thought it was really cool.
That is insane.
Yeah, I wanted to take that home.
It's a full circuit, it's a globe.
It's a globe with the Pac-Man
with Pac-Man on it.
Yeah. Which is really cool. They had some more like arcades and VR in the back. And then I think this might be the last photo I'm going to show. Where is my little...
If it's not, we can edit.
Where's my little... Uh-oh. I can't...
Oh, what'd you do?
I broke it.
That's it. Figures. Game over. How apropos.
Apropos?
Yes.
No, my last picture did not copy over, so I'm just going to open it separately. Here is me with a giant working Nintendo controller where you can play the original Super Mario Brothers on that controller.
That is insane.
Yeah. So I mean, again, and this is just a
Hold on, Ant.
sample
Hold
of,
on. Hold on. Can you take off the note there from Jack on the bottom of the screen?
oh, sorry. Okay.
Maybe no, I'm just saying. Maybe let's and
Do it again.
plus, yeah, it'll look better. I'll cut it. So
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
give you the 5 seconds.
And this is the giant playable Super Mario Brothers
Look at this
Nintendo
thing.
controller. You can actually play Super Mario Brothers with this giant Nintendo controller, which is
Holy
really cool.
cow! And like, did it like was it responsive?
Yeah. No, it worked absolutely
Wow.
fine. It was perfect.
So,
I
and
wanted to share that because it was such a great surprise, to find it while I was traveling.
oh yeah.
And I was so happy that I took the opportunity to go in there. They did have a store.
Okay.
They did have a store, but unfortunately, the store only sold like licensed merchandise. Like I wanted to come back with like
Oh,
something like
I.
like the only thing they had for the museum was like a mug.
Oh,
And
really? That's
yeah,
weird.
and I didn't want to bring him a mug. I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
I did buy something I saw in the store that I liked, but I don't have it with me right now.
Okay.
So, but it was a cool Atari 2600 poster.
Oh wow.
So yeah, once I have it framed and stuff, I'll show it off.
Okay, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, but
And
yeah, absolutely awesome.
that is amazing. I mean, you check it out online, OXO Museo Malaga. I'll just put a link.
Yep.
And you know, I mean, it looks awesome. If you find yourself in Spain, definitely check this place out. The controllers look very cool because that reminds me. I guess now we know where Nintendo got the idea from. The Nintendo Museum
Yep.
over there in Japan has a section where you can play with
Hmm.
giant controllers, including like a Wii controller, as a giant Wii controller
Oh, geez. How do you
to
hold it?
play. Exactly. No, it's like when it was shown during the direct, it was
Mm.
like two people playing. It almost looked like looked like something out of Double Dare, to be honest with you,
Funny.
a physical challenge. But yeah, and this was, oh my God, I can only imagine you
Yeah,
just like
like
the shock on your face, and you're like, wait a minute.
yeah, and I really wish I had more time to spend there because because I was on a cruise, I only had so much time
Yeah.
before I had to go back to the ship. So I literally had time to basically walk around, take pictures, like do some oohing and eyeing, and then I had to leave. So like I didn't even get a chance to play anything. I
Uh,
played Tetris for like 30 seconds just to be like, okay, this is fun. Like, but
no,
yeah,
it's
but
very cool.
it was just really, really cool. Malaga, and also just to be honest, Malaga was a beautiful city.
Mm.
I would definitely go back there, and I would love to spend like a good like 2-3 hours in this museum.
Oh, I would imagine, yeah. So very, very cool, and that is awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome. And then I guess when you make your way to Japan, then you can do your expose on the Nintendo Museum.
the Nintendo Museum. Yeah, that's next. I'm
Awesome.
just ticking the boxes.
Very cool
Yeah.
stuff. All right, so we actually kind of mentioned this talking subject last week in
We did.
passing, and in trying, at least me, I had some trouble finding some information, but I remember some stuff off the top of my head. But we're talking about games that, due to developmental reasons, whatever it might be, might have started on one console, but ended up on the company's next gen console.
Hmm.
So not necessarily saying like something that started for Nintendo and moved over to Sega. We're talking about like stuff that maybe started on the Super Nintendo, but then moved to the N64 because it
Correct.
was just timing. So we got some interesting titles here. And I think we're just gonna kind of get right into it. First of all,
Sounds
Ant,
good.
do you off the top of your head, even before this list came up, like, are you familiar with any games that you just know kind of from history that had a start on one system? And because I know of one particular.
Yeah. Well, the one that there were two that I remembered when we came up with this topic,
Mhm.
and the first one was oh, I'm blank. Oh, the first one was Star Fox.
Yes,
Like
that's
I
mine.
remember, yeah, yeah, like I remember Star Fox, like Star Fox 64 was originally supposed to be Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
And now, of course, if you own a Super Nintendo Mini, the SNES Mini, you have Star Fox 2 because they actually made it, they
Yeah.
completed it for the Super Nintendo Mini, and it plays a lot
It
like Star Fox
it
64.
plays amazing. You're right, and I think it's also, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's also on the Super NES collection on the Switch.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So that was the first one that I knew of. The second one that I knew of was actually Sonic, because I knew that Sonic Adventure was not originally made for the Dreamcast. I knew
Okay.
that they were developing it for the Saturn, but they pulled the plug on it.
Hmm.
They were planning. I forgot what it was called on on the Saturn. It was going to be called like it was like Sonic World or something like that. That it was
Okay.
that it was supposed to be, and then they pulled it for the Dreamcast because the Saturn wasn't selling well. So they were already developing the Dreamcast.
So some of the just looking through
And
here,
I have a whole list of other ones that
yeah,
maybe.
no, we're gonna pick through here. A couple of them are pretty interesting. And first, on kind of the Nintendo side, it seemed like there were some games, even maybe went the other way. There was a couple of games for the N64 that actually started out for the disk drive,
Yep.
but due to the failure of the disk drive, they ended up becoming full carts, which I think is
Yep.
probably better off in the end. One of which is one of yours and one of mine and one of everyone's favorites, Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
So, well,
Yep.
let me rephrase that. It was meant to have an expansion pack
Correct.
for that, which ended up coming out on the GameCube.
Yeah, as
And
the
that's,
Master Quest.
yes, which I don't know where they
Which
went.
I'm sure you have it somewhere
I
because
do.
I know I have it in my collection.
Yes, the Epic Master Quest, which I still haven't ever really played
Oh,
properly.
speaking of a Master
Oh,
Quest,
good Lord.
here he comes.
The Gorgon.
Link. Yeah, he is a Goron. You a big Goron, you roll up into a ball and just roll everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
It's like human bowling.
He
Um,
really is.
so that was pretty cool. And I think also that Master Quest was available on the 3DS remake as well,
Yes.
which I never actually picked up the 3DS remake. Now I'm
Oh,
kind of upset that
interesting. I'm
yeah,
surprised you didn't do that.
it's it, I didn't want to go through that again, that lengthy game, because it took so much out of me the first time I played that game.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a commitment. It's definitely a commitment.
Great game, don't get me wrong. And
Amazing game.
a game you actually, I think, demoed and tried your hands on that was supposed to be a 3DS game that ended up becoming a Switch game because the 3DS just really couldn't hold the style of what it was. Metroid Dread.
Yep. And actually, the Metroid Dread game was originally way back when supposed to be for the DS.
Actually, DS. You're right. I did say
Not
3DS.
even the 3DS. It was
No,
supposed
you're
to be
right.
DS.
I
So
meant to say
like,
DS. Yeah.
yep. And then yeah, they wound up moving it over to the Switch eventually. But that sat around for like what, like almost 10 years or
A
something.
long
It was
time.
a
Well, you went
long
to
time.
because you played it at the expo or whatever that was.
Oh
The
yeah, no,
poster
I
that you
played
had
it
there.
at the Nintendo World
Yeah.
Championship when they brought that back. Mhm.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then it just went away, and then we magically got Dread on the Switch, which was awesome.
And then another one from a list I'm looking at here, which this I never knew about until today. I can't even imagine what it would have looked like if this game came out originally on Super Nintendo like intended, but moved over to the N64, GoldenEye.
Yes. Well, GoldenEye was originally developed for the Super Nintendo as a platformer. It
Yeah,
wasn't going to be a shooter.
that's
And then
weird.
yeah, and then they moved it over to the N64. I mean, but it's kind of cool. Like I would love to see some of the gameplay of that platformer because like somebody's got
Oh,
the code out there somewhere.
100%, 100%.
I'm sure it didn't get very far into development, but still, that would be kind of cool to see what it was like.
Yeah, right. Any of these games here kind of stuck out to you? Like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize this started on something else.
Well, actually, one of them that surprised me that I didn't realize was there was a game originally being developed for the Super Nintendo called Project Dream, and it was an RPG game. And one of the secondary characters in this game, his name was Banjo. And when they scrapped the Super Nintendo game, they actually turned Project Dream into Banjo Kazooie for the N64, and that's how
Oh,
you
wow.
got Banjo Kazooie.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool to know that like it was originally a Super Nintendo RPG that then they turned into a platformer for Banjo-Kazooie. And Banjo-Kazooie, as you know, is like a very well-known franchise.
Oh, yeah,
So
totally.
so I thought that one was really cool. Another one that was also Super Nintendo 1064. This was just a simple switch over, but Mortal Kombat Trilogy was originally being developed for the Super Nintendo.
I read about that too, and
Yeah.
that would have been, I think, I mean, again, it was because the Super Nintendo couldn't pull it off, but that would have been awesome on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, it would have been, but I don't. You know what? I don't know if the Super Nintendo would have been able to fit everybody on there because I was when I
No,
was
probably
reading
not.
when I was reading about Trilogy, they were saying how I don't know if it was this one Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, they had to cut characters off because there just wasn't they just didn't fit.
Mm.
And then when you move over to the N64, like Mortal Kombat Trilogy is like the de facto one to play because it has like everybody in it.
You want to talk about moving a game from the Super Nintendo to something else because the game doesn't fit? Final Fantasy VII
Yep.
was supposed to be on the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
Can you?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
the cart would be pulsating in the Super Nintendo because of so much that's inside of it.
Well, you would think that, but if you actually read about the history of it, they put Final Fantasy VII on the side because Square was busy developing Chrono Trigger. And if you've ever played Chrono Trigger, that game is massive for
I've
Super
tried
Nintendo.
playing Chrono
It's
Trigger.
it has 10 or 12 different endings,
Yeah,
which
I'm out.
means like, yeah, but no, but what I mean is like you can go through that game multiple times to get different, like that's how big the game is. Um,
How
and
many endings
so
have you gotten?
one.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I love that game, but I
Yeah.
didn't know well, because the problem with an RPG too is like what if you're saving over your save all the time, like if I saved it at a point where I knew I could branch off,
Oh, I
sure,
gotcha.
I'll go back and do it. I was like, but I didn't do that when I first played it.
Who knew?
Final Fantasy VII developed for the Super Nintendo, I think could have still worked. The graphics would have obviously been ridiculously different, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And this I
That's
didn't know, just real quick, this I didn't know
yeah.
about Final Fantasy VII. They were going to actually try and put it on the N64, but they looks like there was just
Then,
some issues with the cartridges or something like that. And
well,
then they just moved
yeah.
on to PlayStation.
What happened is it became I
Oh,
think it became so big it couldn't fit on an N64 cartridge. Yeah, too much for N64 to handle, I think.
and also with Nintendo's company licensing and censorship, which everyone knows about,
Yep.
they moved it to PlayStation, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, also remember during this time, Nintendo and Sony were working together on the Super Nintendo PlayStation, and then
Mm.
they had a falling out because Sony wanted Sony wanted to basic they wanted a commission for every game sold. And Nintendo said, we're not doing that, so we're killing the contract.
Yeah.
And then Sony was like, fine, we'll just release a PlayStation on our own. And the rest is history. So I don't think Sony minded like when games were pulled off the Super Nintendo.
Seriously.
Resident Evil was originally supposed to be a point and click adventure game on the Super Nintendo that got pulled and moved over to the PlayStation and Saturn. And we got one of the greatest franchises in history.
Because
As
we
a
all,
point and click game, I don't know if that would have succeeded.
I was gonna say, because we all know how wonderful point and click games are on a home console.
I love point and click games.
On a console,
They're tougher on a console, but you got to remember, like I go back to Maniac Mansion and I love
that's true.
Maniac
Yeah,
Mansion. So
I still am not a fan of that game.
I know you're not.
I'm not saying it's a bad game. Just
No,
come
I
on.
know. It's just not, it's not your thing. Point and click is not your thing. But yes, I agree.
I'll
Point and click,
point. I'll point all day.
yeah, point and click games thrive obviously on PC. That's just the way that it goes. So yeah, so like those were some cool little surprises that go from Super Nintendo to other consoles.
Now, here's a couple of interesting hardware things that
Mhm.
adjusted. And of course, this is mostly Nintendo, because let's face facts, Nintendo, with every iteration of their consoles, they always try and do something different with their consoles. Whether it
Mhm.
works or fails, at least they're trying.
Right.
Apparently, the GameCube, a lot of stuff for the GameCube, some of it moved over to the Wii, some of it became the Switch. Or at
Yes.
least the idea became the Switch. The GameCube was actually, they were fooling around with possibly a motion controller for the GameCube, which eventually became the Nintendo Wii Nunchuck and the Wiimote,
Yep.
which I think would be it. Trying to think what kind of games would have like worked with that on the GameCube. Like definitely Double Dash, Mario Kart Double Dash.
Oh, for sure.
Any first person shooters would work with that as well.
Yep.
So
Like Metroid Prime.
Prime,
Yeah.
100%. Which actually, if you think about it, they did release Prime on the Wii. Actually, not just Prime. There was a few GameCube.
Well, didn't they do the Prime?
Now,
Didn't they do the Prime trilogy on the Wii?
well, not only did they do Prime Trilogy, but they did release a handful of GameCube games onto the Wii, taking advantage of new Wiimote capabilities.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm wondering that's because they were shooting to do the motion on the GameCube, obviously couldn't release the game on the GameCube. And then, hey, you know what? We got this new system. Now we can do what we want.
Maybe.
Because definitely, I remember Prime was one of them. And I think it was a .com game. That was another one as well that did that.
Okay.
So another one with the hardware here is with the another one with the GameCube actually is they were looking, I find this hysterical. They were looking to slim down the GameCube into a portable system,
Huh.
which I find funny because the system already has a handle on it.
Yeah, but if you turn it into a port, like the discs were small enough that you could probably get away with making
Absolutely.
a portable system.
They were actually going to incorporate an LCD screen into this GameCube Lite, we'll call it.
Okay.
Which I think would have been very cool because
That
for
would
a
have been cool.
while, a lot of the Sony one that Sony put out for the PS1. Oh my God, sometimes it's better to play on that little, well, you wouldn't, but to play on that little screen than on the television because it's so crisp and bright and it pops.
No thanks.
No, tell you, I am going to film you next time we meet. I am bringing my Game Boy Micro and I'm going to film you playing a game, not in its entirety, but I'm imagining a first level or two. And you will see how much enjoyment you have on the single tiniest gaming system right there.
Do you
right
remember
there.
wait, do you remember what I did to the Virtual Boy?
You'd even touch this Game Boy Micro.
And I'm like, and you're gonna trust me with the Game Boy Micro?
I'll be standing next to you.
And what is that gonna do?
You are going to enjoy it. But this slim down portable,
I'm just gonna feed it to you.
Honestly, just
eat it.
Just fling it somewhere. That's how tiny it is.
I was gonna put it in a sandwich like in a cartoon, and you're just gonna eat it by mistake.
That's some sort of fat joke. I don't get it. Wait a minute.
No, that's like different, like like the Bugs Bunny cartoons where they would put the stuff.
Like you put his hand, like you put like Homer Fudd's hand in there, eats his own hand. Oh yeah, totally,
exactly,
absolutely. You don't get those anymore.
No.
So this portable, slim down GameCube with a built-in LCD, basically the concept becomes the Nintendo Switch.
That makes sense.
Which I think is awesome.
Well, actually, wouldn't it have become the Wii that became the Switch? The Wii U? The Wii U?
Maybe. No, maybe not, because they were talking about how the GameCube would have had the LCD screen incorporated, where the GameCube, that technically speaking, the gamepad is separate from the system.
True.
I see what you're talking about, but no.
Kind of, sort of, but okay.
Right church, wrong pew.
There you go.
So, and the final thing here, as far as hardware with Nintendo, this what I wanted to talk about before, the amazing Virtual Boy wasn't the first time that Nintendo tried 3D successfully, might I add. I think they did
it so successfully that the thing died after like what, 6 months.
You know what? You go out in style. Sometimes you're better off just riding off into the sunset when you hit the peak.
No. Going out in style is like, Thelma and Louise going off of a cliff. When your sales are so poor that Nintendo has to quietly bury you and forget that you ever existed, totally different story.
There's a reason why British television shows tend to only go 2 or 3 seasons. That's it. And like 6 episodes each. Very weird. The Canadian shows do that too. But in any event, they were playing around with 3D displays for the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, wow.
That I think is pretty interesting. I mean, eventually it would move to the 3DS.
Well, the DS, right? The 3DS.
Well, 3DS, absolutely.
Yeah.
But to have a 3D Game Boy Advance, that intrigues me.
That would have been funky.
Very much.
Okay.
Funky Kong, that is.
Yes.
Yeah, and just to make note, any other games that kind of popped out at you? I mean, we hit a lot of the big ones here.
We hit a lot of the big ones, but there were a few that we did not hit. Well, first one, there was a game being developed for the Nintendo 64 called Dinosaur Planet. And
oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and Dinosaur Planet, when Nintendo saw it, when I think it was when Miyamoto saw it, he said the main character in the game looks a lot like Star Fox. So he actually asked the company to turn the game into Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube. And that's how we got Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube.
That was a rough game. I had it.
Well, you know what though? This kind of helps it make sense because it wasn't originally a Star Fox game.
No, totally. Agreed.
It was a completely different game that got morphed into a Star Fox game. So that's why we were all like, wait, this is a weird follow-up to Star Fox 64. It's like, well, it wasn't supposed to be a Star Fox
game.
Why
is he playing with dinosaurs?
Yeah,
makes sense.
Another one that surprised me, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, was supposed to be on the N64. It got moved to the GameCube because the N64 life cycle was dying. Super Paper Mario was supposed to be on the GameCube and moved to the Wii.
I mean, I'm happy it moved to the Wii because the way the control, I love Super Paper Mario. If you can find a copy of that, I absolutely recommend it.
And then I'm going to mention 2 other ones.
Yeah.
One that I kind of knew about because it revolves around the Dreamcast anniversary, but Shenmue.
Okay.
for the which came out. I think it came out at launch with Dreamcast, but it was originally being developed for the Saturn. And the developers of the game heard about Sega developing the Dreamcast system, and when they saw what the Dreamcast system could do,
Hmm.
they stopped developing the game for the Saturn and moved it over to the Dreamcast.
Okay.
But this one, to me, is the biggest surprise of all because had this have actually happened, I think it could have saved the Dreamcast. But Grand Theft Auto 3 was
Hmm.
originally being created for the Sega Dreamcast.
Really? I
And
did not
when
know that.
but because the Dreamcast was failing,
Yeah.
they stopped development on the Dreamcast and it wound up on the PS2. Now,
Wow.
had GTA 3 come out only on the Dreamcast as an exclusive, I think the Dreamcast would have had a much longer lifespan.
1,000%. I agree
I
on
think
that. A
yeah,
thousand percent.
I think it could have like that's a game that could save an entire console.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I was glued to the PS2 when I was playing. I remember
Oh
too
yeah, same with me.
with my roommate in college because that's I was playing it in college, and I remember when I got GTA 3 and he's like, oh, a show's starting tonight. I'm like, okay. I hope you're gonna watch in someone else's room because
Yeah.
I'm playing GTA 3, and to a
I
point where
have
I think
I
I
have
even
I have hookers to kill.
yeah,
So,
essentially, and I want to play GTA 3, so it
yes.
was kind of dual
Well,
purpose
yes.
there. Um,
College.
all right. Well, you know what? That is a lot of very interesting games, and just
Yep.
ones didn't know about. Like I said, knew a couple of them, but to see how and nowadays you kind of lose that. I think you kind of lose that charm of them, trying if you're a game developer
Yep.
start on one system to move to the next. Now, granted, yes, we have graphical upgrades and technology and everything, but
Hmm.
I mean, and I was just talking about this the other day with my cousin. He was here with his kids. We were having a game day here at
Yep.
the thing. Like the PS5 is just essentially an upgraded PS4. An Xbox Series X is literally just an upgraded Xbox One.
Yep.
So even though they are technically next gen systems, with the backwards capability of I'm not even talking full backwards. I'm just saying of the
Yep.
PS4 to PS5, Xbox One to Series X. It's
Hmm.
like it really like the charm loses it where you're like, what could have that looked like if it was, not as graphically superior?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is the Final Fantasy VII fan game homebrew on the NES.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is part of and we've had this discussion 1,000 times. This goes hand in hand with the physical versus digital conversation we've had. And the reason why I say that is because games now have gone all digital. They only have to enhance themselves in like small increments now to qualify for the next gen. Because like even when you buy a physical game, we've talked about it. When you buy a physical disc now, it just downloads the game onto your hard drive
Yeah.
anyway.
That and
So,
they've been doing that for a while.
right, but what I'm saying is everything plays digitally. So now when you go to a new system, it's just a digital enhancement. It's not, oh well, like Nintendo was like the NES cartridge became a Super Nintendo cartridge
Hmm.
and the chips in there were different, and then to
Yeah.
the N64, so on and so forth. Then we went to discs, and then discs, began to be like this disc can hold more data, so we can make a better game on it. We can improve the graphics and stuff. Now it's just all digital of like, oh, okay, well, now it's more powerful, so we can do a little bit better. And now we can do a little bit better, and we can do a little bit better. So it doesn't lack the same, it doesn't have the same impact that it used to.
All right, I can see. I mean, I actually the entire what you just said, all of that, actually, I would use as a defense against publishers putting out games that aren't fully tested, and then they just patch them later on.
Oh, I hate that.
Everything you just said, word for word, to me, that's more an argument
Yeah.
for that garbage hot mess than just going, all right, well, the game's coming out for the PS5. All right, let's put a
Yeah.
shiny coat of paint on it, and we'll upgrade it, and good to go.
Nope,
So,
I agree. I agree with
but
that.
nevertheless, that's why we're here. All right,
Yes.
folks at home, listening, watching, do you have any games? Do you know of any games that started on a console and moved up? Is there a game out there that started on a console and moved back? I wonder if that ever happened. I don't know.
Oh, shifting backwards? I don't
Right?
know.
I mean, the closest
I
was
mean, everything that came out on the Virtual Boy shifted to the garbage.
20 plus games of wonderful Wario Land Virtual
And
Boy
wait,
is
wait, and
still
And how many of them got transferred to another console because they were so good?
That was a shame. What Nintendo did not do in not releasing a Virtual Boy collection on the 3DS is criminal. Absolutely
Sure
criminal.
was. Sure was.
For a company that's suing everyone left and right.
Yes, they are.
Very criminal. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you know some games that ended up changing direction during development, let us know. Hit us up on social media. And where can they find us?
You guys can find us on Facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast, on Instagram @RetroGamersPodcast, on Twitter @RetroGamersPod. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify @RetroGamersPodcast, or you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com.
All right. Well, with that, let's get into some news.
Let's not get into news, Larry, because I'm going to cut you off. We have not done a game of the week in a long time.
Oh, all right. We are doing game of the week? Okay.
We're doing game of the week.
Okay. We're doing I didn't know we had one planned. Okay.
I have a game of the week planned because I had a game of the week planned last week and we forgot to talk about
That's
it.
right. I forgot about that. Okay.
Yes. In honor of the Sega Dreamcast's 25th anniversary, this week's game of the week will be Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast.
Okay. I got to find one that works.
Yes. And most importantly, I haven't done a game of the week in a very long time, so I will be playing this week.
Oh, okay. So you're taking
So you don't have to find a copy, but you should find a copy and play it so then we can talk about it.
I do. Well, I got the GameCube version, which basically plays the same. I might have it on Xbox, but again, that was a game that I actually don't even talk about that last week. We just, mention it real fast. I didn't realize this was a thing, and some of our friends were like, "Oh, I remember when this happened." Apparently, not all Sonic Adventure CD-ROMs played in Dreamcast. There was like an issue with them that I never knew about.
Yep, the GD-ROM. Remember, it was called the GD-ROM.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some issues with the GD-ROMs.
Sure was a GD-ROM.
Definitely was.
To a point, like when I repurchased my Dreamcast, and then I went and bought Sonic Adventure, and I'm like, oh, the game's not booting up. I must have like a scratch or something, and I switched it out, and that one didn't work. The game was fine because the game worked in other Dreamcasts, but it didn't work in mine. And it was one of our friends' brothers was like, yeah, I remember when we got that originally, and we had to go through like 2 of them to get a working game. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it had some compatibility issues.
Well.
Yep.
I do have a copy of it, though, and I will definitely be more than happy to play that.
All right, good. So that is our game of the week.
So now let's get into some news.
Now let's get into retro news. Okay.
Yes.
I got some retro news. First thing is we've been talking about all of these. We've had all these milestone anniversaries.
A lot.
We had the Dreamcast one. We had the TurboGrafx 16 one. We missed one.
What did we miss?
We missed a milestone anniversary. I was traveling at the time, so understandable.
Don't blame me.
Well, I was just gonna say understandable why it was missed because I left you in charge.
How dare you?
September 1st marked the 35th retro birthday for the Atari Lynx.
Really? Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
The Atari Lynx was released September 1st, 1989. The price of it was $179.99. It sold 2 million units in its life cycle, but I had no idea it came out in 1989. I thought it came out a little bit later than that.
You know what? I didn't realize it came out in 89 as well.
But I guess it was kind of in response to the Game Boy at the time.
Yeah, it's a 4th generation.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's funny about it too is that considering the Game Boy's limited colors, and the Atari Lynx came out as a full color handheld.
Sure did.
Like, it's surprising that it didn't do better than it did.
It's the quality of the games, not necessarily what they look like.
Yeah, no, total. Yeah, exactly. It really does come back. Well, and let's face it, like the Game Boy became super successful because of Tetris.
Oh, that's what helped it.
Actually, Tetris defined that thing.
I might dare say the other way around for North America to get it in the hands of people.
Maybe.
A little bit of both. A little column A, a little column
probably
B.
A little bit of both for sure.
Maybe.
But yeah, so I just wanted to circle back and wish the Atari Lynx a happy 35th retro birthday.
And a very ugly system, but an amazing system when you look back on it and play some of the games. Actually, I do believe some of the games are available. There's an Epix collection on the Switch, actually.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yeah. So of Lynx games. So
yeah, so you can play some of them. And it had some it had some decent games on there. There was Batman Returns came out on that.
Yep.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Of all the video games of that movie, the Lynx is the definitive one, and I cannot find it.
It is the better game for sure.
I'm trying to find it.
And I'm bummed they didn't put it out on that collection that we got.
Seriously, it's like come on.
I mean, you couldn't add a third game to that.
The Game Boy version was all right. But anything was better than it.
No, the Game Boy version was okay. You had other games like California Games. This is all Atari Lynx stuff. I know you don't like that, but California Games, Desert Strike was on the Lynx.
I didn't realize that till actually recently. I kind of
Double Dragon. You had some sports games on there. Joust, Clax was on the Lynx.
I love Clax. Oh, I might have Clax on.
Yep.
On the Lynx. No, actually, no. I only have one Lynx game.
Actually, you had Lemmings, Miss Pac-Man, Ninja Gaiden, Paperboy. Pit Fighter was on the Lynx. Rampage.
Worst game ever.
Robotron 2084.
Hold on. That's the one I got. I got Rampage.
Ah, there you go.
And it's a great version of the arcade version.
Yeah. So the Lynx had some pretty interesting games on 100%. It. So
I never owned one, but I have the adapter now, and I'm definitely starting to look to collect.
Yep. Okay. Let's get to the rest of the news. Okay. So we talked about this recently. I haven't purchased it yet, but I want to. Antstream Arcade has now launched on the PS4 and PS5.
Yes.
Which is really awesome. And I know you've touted it a lot.
I cannot express enough my love for that Antstream Arcade.
Well, you're going to love it even more. And I don't know if this is going to be exclusive to PlayStation or not, because I know you have it on
the Atari VCS.
You have it on the VCS. However, they have already added a selection of PlayStation 1 titles to Antstream Arcade.
Oh no, that's available to everything.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah, yep.
And then they recently announced that the studio head of Antstream Arcade, Mike Rouse, said they already have a ton of PlayStation games already licensed. They probably have another 50.
Oh wow.
PlayStation games, and they're also looking into adding more recent systems, with PlayStation 2 and GameCube being referenced specifically.
Wow.
So they're aiming for PS2 and GameCube games as well. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm assuming third party. It's going to be third party.
Oh, 100%.
You're not going to see Mario on this thing.
Not at all.
But still, the fact that you're getting, they already have like 50 PlayStation 1 games licensed, and they're looking for more. Like they're looking for the next gen after that.
When they announced PS1, because it's mostly like, Amiga, Atari, Commodore 64, NES, Super NES, the simple stuff.
Yep.
When they announced that they were starting to do PS1 games, I honestly was like, oh, it's going to be so slow. It's going to be choppy. Yep. The couple of games that I've played on it run smooth. I mean, remember, it's all cloud-based, so you don't download the game and play it, but it runs smooth. Whether it's the VCS or I bought the it's called the Backbone.
Yep.
Backbone 1 for my phone. Oh, I hope it works with my new phone. But the new Backbone controller, and I've been playing Antstream Arcade on my controller, and some of the games are so hard to find, they're not available anywhere else but on Antstream. Not like an exclusive, it's just it's like an arcade game that's on there. So, and I think it's lifetime. I think it's $100 on the PS5.
It's $100.
Worth. I'm not joking. Worth every penny.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
No, and I know you've talked highly of that, so that's really cool.
Yep.
All right, moving on to other news.
The only reason why I still have a VCS.
Honestly, but you know what? Now there's no reason to have a VCS, because now it's come out on like PlayStation 5.
No, I like my VCS.
So moving on. We mentioned this game when it was first announced, so this is really more of an update, but there was a sequel to the dungeon crawler Shadowgate. Somebody was developing the sequel called Beyond Shadowgate. So just as an update, that as of Friday, September 20th, the game is now available to buy on Steam and GOG.
Okay.
Beyond Shadowgate, a sequel to Shadowgate for the NES. It does not relate to the TurboGrafx CD sequel that came out, because that was a third-person game. This is a first-person dungeon crawler.
Gotcha.
So if you love the Shadowgate game, there's a sequel out there for you.
Okay.
All right. Moving
Definitely
on.
check that out.
Do you remember when we were talking about the Super Sega that somebody in South America was developing?
Not only that, but I have the page saved and I check
Yep.
it periodically.
Okay, so the developers of the Super Sega, they want to answer your questions. They are going to do, I don't know whether they're they're opening up. They're basically opening up to a an interview or for
Like
people to
almost like
ask
an
questions.
ADA.
Yeah,
Not
something like
ADA,
that. It's
AMA.
gonna AMA.
Yeah.
It's gonna take place on September 30th.
Okay.
So for anybody who is interested in the Super Sega, which is absolutely hideous to look at,
Oh, it's ugly.
it is
But
absolutely hideous, but it's an FPGA console that plays Sega Master System, Mega Drive, which is Genesis, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, and Sega CD games, all FPGA.
I mean, I'm gonna get it. And it's strictly for the CD based games.
Yeah. So that's something
Actually,
that you can look into.
they do have a little bit of a timeline on their website,
Hmm.
supersega.com. September, produce prototype boards. October, show proto videos, get pre-reservations for $3.
Interesting.
November, they have to go through December. November, produce prototype chassis and make official video and something else.
Yeah.
My screen is too small. And December 2024, get funded. 2025 to be delivered.
Yeah.
So we will not see this till 2027.
Yes, and apparently there will be a pre-launch campaign this October where you'll be able to pre-order the Super Sega by just putting $3 down.
That's
That
what I
will
just said.
I know, I'm just saying it.
This is what
And,
happens when you're gone for 3 weeks.
I know. And did you say that you'll get 30% off the price of the final system?
I did not know that. So there you go.
So if you put $3 down, you'll get 30% off the final price of the system.
See, I put a down payment for the Amigo. That didn't
Yep.
work out. I ordered the
Polymega.
Polymega. I canceled that.
Yep.
But for the better, I still got better systems than that.
Yep.
So let's see what happens when I put my money down for the Super Sega, how that blows up in everybody's face.
Yep. So good luck with that. I'm gonna share a couple of other systems you're gonna want.
Okay.
So there is a modder out there. His name is Wesk Mods, Weskmods. He created, we talked about this before. He created the Nintendo Wii keychain, which was like a playable Wii.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So just to give you some context here of this person, now he's come out with a model of the Super Nintendo PlayStation.
Okay.
So you remember, obviously, Nintendo was working with Sony.
Oh, everyone knows. Yeah.
Right, to create Super Nintendo PlayStation. So he created a Super Nintendo PlayStation, and now he's making public the step-by-step model so that you can make one yourself.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Calling Jack.
Using the file, because he released the file, you can 3D print your own Super Nintendo PlayStation shell. You'll still need to figure out how to include the actual hardware in it. But otherwise, like, you can create the shell, and then if you know somebody like Ajax, they can put in the actual system for you, and then you'll have an actual Super Nintendo PlayStation.
Oh, someone's gonna be busy.
Yep, somebody's gonna be busy. And I'm not done with the Wesk Mods news, because there was another bit of news that came out not too long ago, because he also created a Sega Saturn Slim.
I'm looking at this thing.
Yes. So it's about, I'd say, maybe 60% of the Sega Saturn size.
Maybe.
So the concept looks really cool. He shows it in two different colors. There's a white version and a black version.
White version. It looks like the white Power Ranger.
It really does.
I thought it was like, oh, someone painted a white Power Ranger Genesis.
Yeah. Nope. But it's really, really cool. The images look fun. So if you're interested in a Sega Saturn Slim, maybe there may be one of those coming too.
That'd be nice.
Or at least
But I
maybe
don't.
he'll release the 3D print model
Yeah,
for it.
but I think what he's doing with this is more like for those who make it, like with ROMs and stuff.
Yep.
I forgot what they call that, but
Yes.
like it won't have an optical drive in it.
No, no, no. It won't have an optical drive. So there's another thing. Wesk mods.
All right.
Okay. Here's a bit of this is a bit of fun news. I sent this earlier to you, I think in the week. I think I sent it or you sent it. Somebody sent it. But there was a retro gaming trafficking ring going on in Italy
Oh,
that
I
got
heard about
busted.
this. Yes.
And
Interesting. Weren't you in Italy recently?
no comment.
Okay.
So Italian police seized a haul of counterfeit retro gaming consoles worth almost $55 million.
Wow.
$55 million. 12,000 Chinese-made systems containing pirated video games were taken.
Sounds about right.
Yep, and they were all, the purpose of it was to sell it all. And it had Nintendo, Sega, Atari, and it contained all kinds of non-certified batteries and electrical circuits that did not meet safety standards.
Sounds about right.
Yep, so you were basically going to be buying, consoles that would explode.
Well, that's a
In
popular
your
thing
system.
nowadays. So,
Yeah, I know. I saw that news. We're not going to
whoa,
talk about
look at
that.
this. It
But
found. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was. It found guilty. They face up to 8 years in prison.
Yep.
9 Italian nationals have been arrested and charged.
Mm-hmm.
All the games have already been destroyed.
Yep.
I feel like that reminds me. Remember, there's like that famous picture. I forgot where it was, either in Germany or some other country, where like I guess they were like banning video games or something, and they laid out all these video games,
Oh,
and then
yes.
someone went over with a steamroller.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been cool. That would have been cool to see done here.
Oh, forget about it.
But that was really cool. Okay. More news. We mentioned this one. I don't remember when, but we did mention this one. I think the news came back in June. That somebody was launching a Kickstarter for a Rayman board game.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So, update on that. It launched and it's already reached its Kickstarter target, and they've now added stretch goals. So, if
Really?
you're a big fan of the Rayman video game series and you want a Rayman board game, check this out on Kickstarter. It looks really fun. The figures look really cool. Like the
Hmm.
detail is awesome. The project is going to be finished and shipped somewhere around mid 2025.
All right. Wow, they got 400 and some over 400% of their goal hit.
Yep.
Yeah, look at this thing. This thing looks really cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Their original target was 50,000 Canadian dollars, which is about $20. And they no,
It's all that
they've
maple
raised
syrup up there.
that's really what it is. I hope that's like a stretch goal. You get like a jar of maple syrup with your purchase.
Or
But
milk in a bag. What?
yeah,
What?
don't get me started about
Ah,
that.
in any event,
So they're already up to like
yeah,
$200,000 Canadian, which
very.
is
And they
really
got
cool.
17 as of this recording, 17 days ago. So like 14 by the time this drops.
Yeah, so they got plenty. So you got 17 days to pick up Rayman the board game. One of my favorite games on current consoles. I have to bring this up just because I love it. Power Wash Simulator.
Oh my gosh.
Power Wash Simulator is getting a new DLC.
Is it?
You will be able to power wash Shrek's swamp starting October 10th.
Wow. I mean, who would have thought that Power Wash sim of all the simulators that have ever come out for any of the systems, including Goat Simulator,
Yep.
Power Wash is the one that's got Final Fantasy VII, got Back to the Future, now getting Shrek.
It also got SpongeBob.
I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, had SpongeBob. So now on the Shrek version, you're going to be able to clean Shrek's swamp, Duloc, Fairy Godmother's Potion Factory, the Dragon's Lair, and Hansel's Honeymoon Hideaway.
All right, so do you still play that game?
Now I will. I will go back to Power Wash Shrek for sure. And
Okay.
I still haven't downloaded Bikini Bottom. I gotta do that. Okay, moving on to Devil May Cry. Remember the Devil May Cry
Oh
series?
my God, such a great. I kind of fell off at like 4, but that first one, oh my God, I didn't stop playing that
Yep.
one.
Well, you'll be happy to know that the first full trailer for the Netflix series Devil May Cry has dropped.
Really?
Yep.
Oh wow.
There's going to be a Devil May Cry series.
Boy,
It's
Castlevania really launched these animes, I
They
guess.
really did.
Yeah.
So this one's coming out April of 2025. So when you
Okay.
have a chance, take a look at the trailer. It looks really good.
100% will do.
Yep.
Does it
Do
say
you,
which game it's kind of based on? Did it in your article there?
let's
If
see.
not, it's okay.
Yeah, it's closely it's going to focus on a younger version of Dante, which
Okay.
was more closely related to Devil May Cry 3.
Yeah, that was kind of bad. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That was a
so
good
I'm going
one
to
too.
start there.
3 was good. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, almost done. Remember the game Pal World?
Oh
It
yeah,
was
I know what
it
you're
was the
talking about.
fighting game with like that looked like a Pokemon ripoff.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, 99%.
Yes. Well, Nintendo and Pokemon have finally filed a lawsuit saying that they're infringing on multiple patent rights.
What?
Remember, in the beginning, they couldn't do it for some odd reason, but now they found a way to sue them. So
I'm surprised it took them this long.
it did take them a while. Their
It
lawyers must had to be working like overtime on this
it's
one.
like that guy who's suing LucasArts or Disney because they used what's his face in Rogue One.
Oh,
The
yes.
movie came out like 10 years ago, and now you're getting around to suing? Come on now.
Yeah, that's what they do. But
But
anyway, yeah, if you're
Nintendo,
yep.
man, their lawyers are something else.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Pal World, well, I'm just going to say it right now. You're going to be shut down soon. Nintendo doesn't. I mean, come on, Nintendo doesn't give up.
It's a juggernaut, bro. They're
Yep.
not gonna, yeah, they won't stop.
Yep. Moving on to the Nintendo Switch Online.
Ooh.
So last week, 4 more titles were added to the Super Nintendo
Yes.
library.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Yep. So you got the racing game Big Run, the action puzzle title Cosmo Gang: The Puzzle, which was known in the West as Pack Attack.
Oh, that I thought that looked familiar.
Yeah, it's Pack
Okay.
Attack. Yeah, it's Pack Attack.
Yes. I liked Pack Attack.
You got the dodgeball game, Kunio-kun no Dodgeball Daio Zenin Shugo. And then last but not least,
This is
Battletoads
it.
Double Dragon.
Oh, mwah, chef's kiss.
Really good one. And then one last bit of news, and this is also about the Nintendo Switch Online. There's a rumor going around.
Ah, la 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 la.
There's a rumor going around that they may be looking to add Super Nintendo mouse support to the Switch Online. And that could only mean one thing. They may be putting Mario Paint on Switch Online.
Oh, is someone going to be remaking their Bohemian Rhapsody video?
Somebody might.
Have you ever found it again?
No.
Oh,
That was a
shit.
terrible thing I did.
Oh,
It was hysterical, but
that was amazing. What are you talking about? You made a full music video on Mario Paint,
that's true.
the Bohemian Rhapsody.
That
Now,
is
granted,
true.
I mean, you just played
Granted,
the
I was
actual
like,
song.
granted, I was like 14 at the time when I
Who,
made it.
bro, even back then when that was like one of the first things that we talked about when we first started hanging out.
Mhm.
Because you definitely made that before I knew you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I'm like, what'd you do? Like, I mean, I played Mario. I love Mario Paint. Mario Paint was the first game I ever bought with my own money. And I played, all the mini games. I couldn't draw for nothing.
Yeah.
But when you showed me this video, this Bohemian Rhapsody video, even I was like, okay, that's impressive.
Mhm.
That's pretty.
And I can't even draw.
No, oh no. The impressive
was-
part was not how it
We're
looked.
just making it.
The fact that you did it and
Yes.
and it was all in time and everything.
Yep.
Like, do you know for a fact that that's gone, or you think it's just in a bin somewhere you haven't gotten to?
Oddly enough, I know that I recorded it. I saved it. I recorded it onto a VHS tape, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I thought I knew which VHS tape it was on because when I bought a VCR to start transferring footage, like tape over, it was the first tape I went to see if it was there. But it wasn't there, so I was wrong.
Oh.
So but I might still have it, but I have a bunch of like VHS tapes I have to
Okay, so it's possible. It's possible.
It is possible. And if I ever find it, I will post it.
Well, I mean, I don't know how, because Queen will immediately get on our butts.
That's fair.
But we can maybe do something with it. But even muted, play. You know what, folks? If Anthony finds and posts it, you play the song.
That's right.
And we'll tell you when to hit start. And
exactly.
I can't. If you can find that, that would be amazing.
I will look.
All right,
I will look.
no problem.
And that's all I have for retro news this week.
Awesome. One thing I want to wrap this up with, because I'm very happy. We're actually very happy for everyone over there at Memory Card, the short movie that is making the rounds at the film festivals.
Yep.
And just recently, Stan, who we had on the podcast a couple months ago, posted that their film Memory Card is going to be playing at the New York Long Island Film Festival. It's the Saturday of New York Comic Con, unfortunately, but they have, I don't know if it's won or they're nominated in 9 categories in this film festival.
Wow.
And we cannot be happier for Stan and everyone over there at Memory Card. We cannot wait for it, for everyone to be able to watch this flick. It is a great short flick, very fun to watch, and it's getting some legs on it. People are recognizing it. And if you're on Long Island, actually, if you're on anywhere that they're doing film festivals, follow them at Memory Card Movie.
Yes.
And if you can, check out the film festival where they're at. And again, congratulations to Stan and everyone over there.
Yeah, big congrats. Big congratulations.
Very cool.
That's huge. Huge news.
Oh, yeah. And with that, we'll start to wrap things up. And just one more time, shall we? Where can they find us?
You guys can find us on Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast, on Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast, on Twitter
X
at Retro Gamers Pod. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify at Retro Gamers Podcast, and you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com.
Yes, and with that, have a wonderful week.
You have a wonderful week as well, sir.
And we'll catch you everywhere next week, right here on the Retro Gamers Podcast.